What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the weekly show where I talk to the rebels who are shaping youth culture. We find out how they do it, why they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. We're also the only show that brings you new music every week from EDM.com. I'm your host, Josh Levine, and my guest today is Bella Fiasco. She's a great young DJ. She's a brand ambassador for the Beat Junkies. Check her out on Mixcloud. She's got a new mix called the Drip Mix, which if you want to get up on new hip hop music, that's a good way to do it. She's going to talk to us about what it's like being a woman in DJ culture today, how that whole landscape is changing, how she's taking inspiration from other female DJs, and some lessons she's learned about when to let people get close to you, how to handle it when they betray you, all that stuff. Good stuff coming up with Bella Fiasco on Rebel Radio, right after our EDM.com track of the week.
Yeah. You know they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting new results. It's time to evolve. Talking the law when I ride with my dog. No time to catch a case.
Yo, that was the EDM.com track of the week. Jay Nolan with Evolve. Hope you enjoyed that one. Get over to EDM.com for more new music. And right now, let's get into the interview with Bella Fiasco. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I just learned about you recently and have been listening to a lot of mixes, so I'm excited to hear what it's all about.
I hope some good mixes.
Yeah, good stuff, actually. I'm curious about, I have some questions about some of them, but...
Okay, ask away.
No, I want to know how you got started. You were telling us about moving from Philippines and your journey, but...
Yeah.
I want to know how you first got into music.
I've always been around music. My parents are both musicians. My dad specifically is a bass player, and he's been in bands like his entire life.
Nice.
Probably, well, my entire life.
Your entire life, yeah.
Yeah, and when I was little, he would take me along to his gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Philippines, you don't have to be...
What kind of bands?
My dad's band does everything from funk, acid jazz, R&B, all of that stuff.
Nice.
And then, but they had a weird transition, like during their last few years of fame in the Philippines. They were very well established, and popular band in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But maybe I would say The Passage.
Okay.
I would say like right around their last year of popularity, they transitioned into house electronic music.
Wow.
And that was something really new in the Philippines.
Sure.
But these were all studio recorded albums. They were still an 8-piece band, but they were recording, electronic music and just making it sound new.
Yeah.
But I don't think Philippines was ready for that. That whole scene was just it wasn't even that it was foreign and cool. It was this makes no sense.
8-piece house band. That's cool.
Yeah, but and I wish you guys could peep it out. They have some YouTube, old YouTube videos, and their album's still up, on iTunes and Spotify, whatever. You can find it anywhere. But it sounds cool now. It's different because it's cool because it sounds different now. Right. But around then, I feel that was the death of their fame. But anyways, my dad would take me along to all their gigs because who would be babysitting me? No one, because my mom would be coming along too. And it's Philippines. You could go to the club.
Right.
It could be I'm 5 years old at the club sleeping. You know what I mean? And I've just always been around it. I was around music before I even realized that I was in music. You know what I mean? So it was just
So other than your dad's music, is there a first record that you are aware of, remember discovering or getting excited about?
That's so hard. That's so hard to answer. I'm always around music. I'd literally be in the house, my mom would be blasting music, and I'm traumatized from loud music because, I'm young and my ears are so sensitive. My parents are probably deaf. My mom loved Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind & Fire. But she loved Euro bands too. She loved D Sound. a lot of Sade, everything and anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. And so, were you playing music too?
Yeah, my first self-taught instrument was the guitar. Wasn't good at it. So my dad taught me how to play the drums.
Okay.
The drums was probably the longest instrument that I actually stuck to and was like really interested in excelling at.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm decent, but it wasn't long after till I realized that DJing existed. But I always say this, I feel like DJing found me because, well, my dad bought me my first pair of turntables. Let's start there.
Okay.
But he bought a pair of turntables because my dad owns a PA rental company. So he does like weddings and private parties and all that. And it was kind of one of those things where it was like, you should learn how to DJ. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
But it was like everything just tied in together. Like in middle school, I just always had a knack for like curating playlists, like soundtracking. I would burn playlists onto CDs and I'd pass them out to friends. And it got to a point where they'd ask me for like playlists and they would pay me for it. And it was just like a little, like middle school hustle. I'd like burn CDs and get money for it.
Yeah.
That and my dad doing private events, he would always ask me for like, hey, I'm doing a wedding. Do you think you could put a playlist together? Or, little things like it would, and I'd ask like, who's getting married? Like, where are they from? How old are they? Just like things like that, like programming and knowing that this is what fits for that.
Yeah.
And then that's when he bought my turntables, and then I just transitioned into learning. But it wasn't one of those things where it was like I saw a DJ and was like, that's really cool. I want to do that. You know what I mean? I feel like I kind of got thrown into it and I realized that I loved it. So it was kind of like, that's what I mean, but I feel like it found me.
That's cool.
Or maybe my dad did and kind of just threw me in there, but.
Yeah. Do you remember the first party you played in front of people?
Yeah. It was a wedding gig.
Oh, yeah.
I did wedding gigs for like 1 to 2 years. But even after I made it into clubs, I was still doing weddings.
Yeah.
That's where I got all my practice.
It's a good place to start because you get paid.
Yeah, you get paid, and that's when I realized I wanted to be an open format DJ.
Yeah.
Because even like,
you have to play everything.
Yeah, but even like getting into the culture and learning about the culture, just I didn't want to go into it not knowing any history. I wanted to learn it the right way and have the right knowledge. And I'd reach out to my uncles who are DJs, and they're all in hip hop, obviously, and I love hip hop. Hip hop's my first love too, but like I loved everything else. And like DJing corporate parties and weddings and all that, I learned how to play outside of the box.
Yeah.
It wasn't just I couldn't just play hip hop because I loved hip hop. Like I had to, learn how to play everything else. And yeah.
But we know so many great Filipino DJs here.
Right. It is a Filipino dominated field, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's DJ culture like in the Philippines?
I wouldn't know.
I mean, I know some of the guys, Icy Ice, and some of the guys go back there and play a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I left the Philippines when I was 8. And like I said, like the DJ culture, I like learned about it as I was learning to become a DJ. It wasn't like I knew about it before becoming a DJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like it was like my dad was like, you have a knack for this. There's an outlet for that. Here's DJing. It was one of those.
So then at what point do you realize that that's going to be a career?
When I started to fail my classes at school.
Yeah.
Because I was just so focused at like DJing. Like it was, so doing the wedding stuff with my dad and making money off of that, it took a while for it to feel like I was doing it for fun, because at first it was like, I want to help my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I actually started developing as a DJ and like learning the craft when I realized like, this is amazing. Like I'm good at this. Like I got to develop as a DJ and really take this seriously. And when I started doing club gigs and getting paid for that, I started doing pretty bad at school. But for a while, like for a couple of years, I really wanted to balance both. I was like school and DJ, school and DJ, school and DJ.
What age?
Right out of high school.
Okay.
So 2 years out of high school, I was balancing both, and I couldn't focus on DJing so much, and I couldn't focus on school so much. So it was just like my attention was always just divided, and I needed to stick with one thing. And my parents have always been so supportive. Like people to this day, like they ask me like how did you know, being Filipino, how did you drop out of college, and how were you able to just do what you do and your parents not like be on your ass about it? And I'm like, they're musicians, they get it. Like my dad's been in the nightlife scene for like ever, so he gets it. And I never got shit from them. They're just like, as long as you do good and you take this seriously and you don't fuck around, you're good. So I've always had their support.
So was there like a day then when you sat down and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do school, I'm going to be a DJ?
Oh yeah. This was the day that I told my mom, I can't pass statistics. I can't pass statistics. I hate math. And I made a proposal to my mom, but she had already brought this up. Like she realized that I wasn't doing well in school, and she was like, look, if this is something you really want to do, you could take a break. You can always go back to school. School's always going to be there. Like go full throttle at this and just do your thing. And it was like a hard day at school. Yeah. And I talked to my mom, and I was just like, I think I'm going to take you up on that offer. But I always like tried to stray away from it because like, you know, everybody in the family's a doctor, lawyers and nurses, shit like that. But I was just like, if I have you guys' support, I think I'm good. You guys are my parents. And Mom's like, don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about what they have to say. Like, you're my daughter. We're your parents. We're okay with it. Don't worry about that shit. Like, if you really want to do this, you could do it. Because my dad would talk about it, like all the sacrifices that he made just to be a musician. You know what I mean? Because it was the same thing. Like, his parents weren't supportive of it at first, till he realized that all he had to do was really put everything into it and succeed. Then they would see that it, you know, that it's working out.
What was the day after like? Do you start to develop a plan for like what you're gonna do, or?
Well, around
like,
that time.
What changes after you made that decision?
Around that time, I already had my foot in some clubs, but I think that it wasn't long after I like left school when I actually like made my way from doing Long Beach, because I'm from Long Beach. It wasn't long after that till I made it to LA from Long Beach, and from then everything just like was like crystal clear. I'm like, I could do this. Like just learning the ropes and being in that scene outside of, you know, like local. I was like, I could do this, and I want to take this further. And that's what I did. I just worked my ass off. And it's hard. I've never had to talk about this. It's crazy. I think I was right in between the time of female DJs either being really good or, you know, the show DJs.
So who comes to mind when you think of that?
When I think of
like who was happening, what female DJs were happening in that time?
Okay, like I said, it was either like the really, really good, well-respected DJs.
Which is who?
Shorty, Tina T, Charisma's on the radio, and I listened to her forever. Or, you know, the show DJs. It was hard to be in between, because if you showed up to the club and you looked cute, it was like, she's probably shitty because she looks cute, because there weren't that many. And if you did look cute or you were half naked DJing, you automatically fell in that category. Or if you were that really, really great DJ, you just, I don't know, like there was a certain image that people looked for, I feel like, and that's like a harsh truth.
So how has that environment changed? Obviously, like, we're seeing.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good time to be a woman.
It's a great time to be a woman.
In a lot of businesses right now.
Yeah.
How is that impacting DJing?
I feel like I'm like literally witnessing it. I'm living right in the middle of it, because like I said, like when I first started DJing, there wasn't like that in between. It was either this or that, and there were times where I felt like I had to compromise my image just so that I could show up and have people take me seriously. You know what I mean? But I felt like I didn't have to do that.
Right.
But I did it anyways because everything was like a compromise. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want, and especially like the gigs that I was doing, opening for like male DJs that I really looked up to. All I still care about is street cred.
Right.
Like credibility is all that matters, you know what I mean? And DJing with like guys that I've looked up to, and like I would literally, you know, I'd open for these guys and I'm like shaking, like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Am I playing the right opening set? Like, what do you think they think? And then like I turn around after my set, like getting them ready. And then there's some DJs that wouldn't even like shake my hand. You know what I mean?
Really?
And to me, it's like, even outside of the whole DJing thing, I'm still a female, and I feel like really, you know, it's a demeaning feeling, and I've felt that so many times just being a female DJ. Yeah. So like I said, like I'm like right in the middle of that transition, and it's a great time to be a female DJ because now, you could be whoever you want, but it's not even just in like the DJ industry. Like this whole climate is like changing everything else. Like I feel like now we're like glorifying the whole you can be whoever you want, be comfortable. You don't have to try and be someone else. Yeah. It's like it's a great climate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
so how's that affecting your work? I mean, you know, nightlife is such a male-dominated industry, from the promoters to the, you know, to most DJs, to, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we're hearing stories in every other industry about how that people abuse their power.
Right.
So what's the climate like now? Like what's changed? How would you say it's changed in the last year or so?
I guess they're more open to female talent without the restriction. But not completely.
Of course.
You know, I don't know if it's ever going to be, we're ever going to reach that spot. But, well, for the most part, most promoters or clubs or events that I work with, I've worked with for years. So it's all about like the relationships that I've built with them, and like the trust and loyalty and that they have. That they have for me. And it's building. Like I would say 80% of the gigs that I have now are all from events and parties that I've done over the years. Yeah. So it's all just building a relationship. If they know you're good, they're going to keep working with you.
So can you think of somebody who kind of put you on at the beginning, and what was that like? Meaning, you know, what did you do to get them to take a chance on you, or what did they see in you?
I played a gig for $50 in Long Beach, and it was just because I was practically begging him for a slot at this club, right? Just to show him that I could do it. But you know what? For the most part, I think it was just to show. It was to show myself that I could do it. I wanted to know if I could do it. Sure. It was kind of like is this what you really want? You should try it. Like weddings and corporate gigs and all that, it's a different ball field. But like being in the club, and this was a busy club in Long Beach, so I was begging him. I'm like, you got to give me a shot. Like I would show up to this club and just watch other DJs, and take that in and learn from it until I told him, hey, I think I'm ready. You should give me a shot. Yeah. But then like around this time, it was one of those like, it's so easy to get like 50 people in the club. All we got to do is grab a new DJ with a following who are like so excited to hear a new DJ. You know what I mean? And they use and abuse it too. So it's the same thing. So I did parties like that for a few months, but I didn't mind. I knew I had to start somewhere. Yeah. I think the labor was in transitioning from that DJ to a paid DJ, a sought out DJ, you know? Yeah. And I had to leave Long Beach to do that. I had to leave Long Beach, and I worked on branding myself. And I did all of that on my own.
What does that mean? What'd you do?
Branding is hard because like I mentioned earlier, it's I'm like stuck in between, like, can I just like dress and look how I want to dress and look, and you guys would still take me seriously? Mm-hmm. But like I said, like within the past few years, there was a weird transition. Like you could be a girl, be as girly as you want, be as woman as you want, but like, how are we going to take you seriously if we feel like that's like distracting us from your skill, you know? And I guess part of my branding was being comfortable and being me and convincing people that I'm still good. Mm-hmm. Or in general, that you could look good and be good. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't like around the time that I was starting as a DJ. I don't even know if I'm speaking for everybody else or this was just like a personal experience, but I didn't feel comfortable.
Sure.
I was always scared. I was always worried. I was always nervous.
So was there a point where that changed?
To be honest, being comfortable probably didn't happen till the last couple of years. Mm. Just having a name for myself and, you know, being, I don't want to sound a certain way, but just like having that demand is when I started to feel comfortable. And it was all of those years that I felt like I had to compromise. You know what I mean? It all built up to now having a brand and credibility and respect and just trust from others.
Yeah. What are there any mistakes you made kind of early on that you would tell somebody starting out not to make?
Mistakes? Probably, that's a good question. Because, you know, people always ask about...
Wait, am I supposed to
ask
you bad questions?
Because people ask the opposite usually.
That's my job.
But you're asking the opposite.
I only have one job here.
Right. A mistake that I
mean, maybe you didn't make any mistakes.
No, I've had some weaknesses. Maybe it was over-compromising. Maybe it was not having enough courage sometimes. Maybe it was missing out on opportunities because I didn't feel like I fit these experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that. Like I know I talk about compromising a lot because I did so much of it. Maybe some experiences I did a little too much of it and I held myself back.
Can you think of an example?
Not in specific, but I do want to talk about a story maybe that kind of had to do with it.
Let's hear a story.
Let me drink some water.
Oh, this is dramatic.
Sip some tea. So I remember I used to open for this guy. Obviously, I'm not going to say any names. I used to open for this guy for a couple of years. And I looked up to him. I even, I did like drops on his mixtape. Like we were cool. Mm-hmm. Like he was super cool. And I always felt comfortable with him. I would always ask him for advice starting out DJing and, it's getting cold. Starting out DJing and getting into clubs and all that. And he would book me at like his residencies and all that. Like I had his trust. Right. We were super cool, right?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to a couple of years when I left DJing like local stuff and I made it to LA, Vegas, Hollywood, whatever. We lost touch and I don't know, like social media is weird. Like people get super sensitive over shit like she doesn't follow me back or she doesn't respond to my messages and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know how sensitive people are. I feel like the most sensitive people are DJs, but whatever.
Is that right?
I feel like it.
Okay.
So I ran into him at a party. Fuck, I hope he doesn't listen to this. I ran into him at a party.
We're not gonna say his name.
No.
It's all good.
If I say the party, he'll know I'm talking about him. Ran into him at a party, and this was literally a week after I did an event with the Beat Junkies. So it was all the Beat Junkies guys, and I opened for all of them. And he was drunk. I was happy to see him. I was like, oh my God, it's been so long. Like, what's going on? What's good? Like, all that yada yada. And then he was drunk, and he was just like automatically like salty. Like he was just like, oh, how you doing? Like, yeah, so you're all Hollywood now? The term Hollywood. So you're all Hollywood now? You forgot about all of us and all that shit? And he was drunk, so I didn't really like have anything to say. So I was just like, you want a drink? That was always my go-to. You want a drink? I'll get you a shot. Let's go drink, let's take a shot, whatever. So we go to the bar, and he jumps right into it. He's like, so it's crazy that you do like all of these events with, the Beat Junkies, and like you're an ambassador now and blah, blah, blah. He was like, what's up with that? Like, do you think you deserve it? That was his first question. Do you think you deserve it? Yeah. And this wasn't, I mean, everything that I've done with the Beat Junkies is a huge deal to me. Even just the recognition, that's all I ever needed. The recognition, the acknowledgement, just being around them, rubbing shoulders with them, let alone like playing with them. That's a huge deal for me. But I guess for someone to notice it in that light and that be the first question, like, do you deserve it? Yeah. I was so offended. I didn't even know what to say to him, but in my head I had so much that I wanted to say, like, you know what I've struggled with, you know the process, you know what I went through, the journey, like, you've seen it, you were there, like, what do you mean do I deserve it? Like, what's the deal? Like, I didn't understand where it was coming from. And the next day he was on Twitter, knowing that I follow him, and he was still talking shit. He was like, it's just crazy, like, you guys give these female DJs a spotlight, and it's like, you like, where did like turntablism go and all that? And he's very old school. I guess it's something I want to talk about too. There's always like those bitter old school veteran DJs, and he's just like, where did turntablism go and blah blah blah. Like, I want to see her like battle, and then called some other girl out, like, go battle this girl out. Yeah. And it's just like, and even my style from that other female DJ were so different. You know what I mean? Like, I respect turntablism. Like, I'm learning. I've learned the craft. I'm still learning the craft. But it's like, I've become more than that. Like, I don't just want to do that. I expanded my craft. So.
What did you learn from that experience, other than that guy's obviously an asshole? But...
Yeah, he's a effing douchebag. Learning that. Just brush it off. Yeah. And I guess that's why I said earlier, like, to this day, I feel like I'm still trying to earn, like, credibility from others, because, like I said, maybe for some people, I'm just never going to reach that point.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're never going to accept it.
Right. But that's more like, about them than you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But, yeah. And some people are just not open to that, or even take out the whole female DJ thing, like, even new technology or new ways to DJ or whatever, new styles. Some people are just not open to it. So,
I mean, I've noticed, some people love to like find the flaws in other people, and you talk about DJs, and I mean, we used to do it when we were younger. We go see some big DJ and be like, find all the shit that was wrong in his set, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of it. And you have
exactly.
to not pay attention to that stuff.
Right. But I'm so hard on myself. I still do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get nervous.
Yeah.
All my gigs, even if it's like the smallest bar gig, I still get nervous. Because I always feel like someone's watching and judging. I mean, I'll have, and I know this because I'm nosy, I'll have DJs literally come to like certain stuff, and I know who they are, but like they don't think I know them, and they'll just like stand around and like peep game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that. I did this Guitar Center tour. It was like a clinic for like Bose. I did clinics all over SoCal. So this was pretty much, I would just do like demos, like live demos, or like mini like exhibition sets. And I would always know, it's so funny, I would always know who the DJs are, because they would always stand behind me to see if I was really doing anything.
Right.
And everyone else would be like in the front. I'd be like, I know which ones are behind me. These are the DJs behind me that want to know if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm doing something, anything. Yeah. But
So you talked about Beat Junkies a little bit, and I love those guys. What have you learned from them?
ultimately, honestly, what I really take from them, obviously aside from all the technicality and just the culture and the art and all of that, is just how humble each and every single one of them are. They respect everyone. Like I used to get so scared if I like had to be in the same room as any of them,
Right.
but now it's like they're literally like the chillest, most respectful, humblest, coolest people, and they don't judge anybody, and it like I said, like I used to get so nervous being in the room with them, but like now that I know what kind of DJs they are and like just getting to know them as human beings, they're amazing people. They're super cool. I still get nervous when I play with them though.
Sure.
They still make me nervous.
I played one of the few parties I've ever DJ'd. I opened for I think it was Curse and
Oh,
I
dope.
forget who it was. It was in a bowling alley, but and I was not a good DJ. I'm still not a good DJ.
Yeah, right.
I've stayed consistent in that. But they were like, to your point, like they didn't judge me. They were totally cool
Yeah.
about it. We were talking about records that I was playing afterwards. Like, you know, it gave me a huge boost to my confidence.
Yeah, totally.
Just being around them and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I really admire that they keep up with the current, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
continuously develop. They're not just stuck in that one box.
Sure.
Because I know that a lot of people, when they think beat junkies, old school,
Yeah.
turntablism, all that, no, like some of these guys headline clubs
Right.
in Vegas and now they opened up a school teaching kids how to, you know, learn how to DJ, and it's they're always keeping up to date. So
Yeah.
I feel like they're a huge contributor in the development of just DJing as an art.
Absolutely. So what does it mean to be an ambassador?
Well, it's for the beatjunkies.com. It's for the record pool, but it's pretty much just promo, control, content, all of that. And other than that, it's just a relationship with them, being able to do events with them and stir up ideas with them and all of that.
Nice.
It's good stuff. It's fun stuff. They're always up to so many new things. And
Sure.
after the school, now they're doing Beat Junkies TV. So a bunch of new stuff on the way, which
Yeah,
is what I
absolutely.
admire about them the most.
Yeah.
It's like nonstop work for them.
And what about you? Is there like a mission that you kind of have a vision of where you're going, or is it one foot in front of the other?
Well, first off, producing, I've been in and out of producing for a few years now.
Nice.
Because it's kind of like school. I always felt like I could balance DJing and being a producer
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But it never works out. I'll get into it for like a couple of months and I get so busy DJing I forget about anything else. So I'm always in and out of it. But now I finally have things going. So I have some remixes coming out. I'm doing like a collection series.
Nice.
And that should be coming out sometime this year.
Oh, cool.
And other than that, I'm still doing parties.
So what have you seen about, because a lot of DJ, you know, that's a common career path, right?
Right.
To DJ and then start producing. But they're not the same at all.
No, not at all.
What's been harder about that than you thought it would be?
About
Like making that transition or adding producing to.
It's funny you ask that because I think that's a question that I'm still trying to answer and I won't know until I try it.
Yeah.
Because even just identifying myself as an open format DJ, how do you garner a specific
Right.
following for the kind of music that you want to put out if
Yeah.
you're an open format DJ? You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to stick to one thing.
Sure.
And
Yeah, you
even,
can't really be an open format producer.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense.
Right.
And even, and anyways, a little sidetrack, but even being an open format DJ, like it's both a good and a bad thing. To some people it sounds good, to some it sounds bad, right? Like it has, I don't know, it has a stigma, but to some it's like, whoa, you're an open format DJ, how amazing. But yeah, I've had a producer friend tell me, like, you can't put out any music and make a name for yourself as a producer if you're an open format DJ. He's like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
Vice does it.
that's the thing, right? And my argument was always A-Track, Vice, like, they're able to do it. You can do it. And I feel like now with the climate in DJing now, that's what I kind of want to help contributing to, which is making open format happen again. But it won't be corny. Because, you know, sometimes open format, they're like, that's corny. Like, open format, you're a wedding DJ. Like,
yeah, I mean, that was my take on it, is that there was an era when a lot of DJs started relying on sort of gimmicks
right.
in that, right? In that open format. And yeah, it became just playing like super cheesy, fun stuff that would kind of make people laugh, or like playing like ironically.
Right.
Which is not, you know, which we both know a lot of DJs who play open format not that way.
Yeah.
But I think, to your point, like I guess then that shaped people's perception overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to, that's what I'm working on right now. I when I say open
what
format,
kind of
I want
music are you
to.
gonna produce?
Well, I've always
yet?
loved classics. I know it's so typical, but I've always loved classics. I want to recreate funk and disco joints, make it electronic, but it's not
Nice.
going to be like hard bass type of big room EDM stuff.
Sure.
It's something you could listen to in the car, but you could play it in your sets too.
Right.
You just probably won't be able to play it during your primetime slot.
Yeah.
But it's something to listen to. I don't want to, I always say this, if I get into production, I don't want to produce music that you can only play in the club. I really want it to be like music that you could listen to. Because most of the stuff that producers and DJs put out, it's stuff that you would only use at a club or at a bar, at a lounge, whatever.
Sure.
But would you actually like download this, put it in your iTunes, and play it in the car, or while you're getting ready, or while you're just like cooking in the house? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want it to be like music.
Okay. I saw you were tweeting about Swedish House Mafia, and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who he was there in Miami, and his and what he said is he felt like Swedish House Mafia breaking up kind of signaled the end of that like EDM
I think so
era, and that this performance signaled a new era. That and we were kind of arguing, because I don't think the name EDM I don't think can come back.
Right.
But I think that it'll just be called something else, and like that music will continue to live on. But he was kind of saying, as I wasn't there and I didn't watch it on video, but like that he felt like that performance kind of started a new era.
Yeah. Well, I feel like EDM in its own just it keeps birthing like all sorts of other genres.
Sure.
There's so many subgenres under EDM, and it's all like right now. What's like hot right now? Everybody's doing the whole future bass, mood stuff. That's hot right now.
Right.
But do you think that's gonna last?
No, I mean, I think dance music is by definition it's a innovative process.
Right.
Right. So it's always changed.
Exactly.
Super fast.
Yeah.
And if you look at the 30 years that there's been quote unquote dance music, right? Like we've had 100 genres.
Right.
And you know, that's not true in any other style of music.
Exactly.
And I think that's just going to continue.
Yeah.
Someone told me the other day drum and bass is about to come back in a big way.
Probably.
Which I don't know if that's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that's popped up over the years. You know.
But would it still be called EDM? Because we still associate EDM with that, like what you said, Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we were saying about open format, that like there becomes this stigma because certain people have success doing it in a way that turns the rest of us off, right? And so then there becomes a stigma, and I think it'll end up with a new brand.
Yeah.
which is fine because it doesn't really matter what we call stuff, right? That just becomes a convenience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point.
You also tweeted about.
My Twitter's a mess.
Is
I'm
it?
so mad you're on my Twitter.
Oh no, I didn't see anything bad, but I want to look. You said
I feel like I
something-
have a different identity on Twitter because I wouldn't post
really?
anything on Twitter on Instagram. You know what I mean?
So is that,
I'm more free
so
on
is
Twitter.
Instagram, you're like, that's your brand?
I don't know. I feel like it's my portfolio.
Okay.
Like I got rid of my Facebook page. I don't think anybody checks up on me on Facebook.
Instagram's interesting. Like, you know, I feel like most people are just not that interesting on Instagram. Like, because and I say that because like, it's just pictures,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so the people that are really good at Instagram, first of all, if you're just insanely good looking and you just post pictures of yourself,
Right.
which there's a lot of those people, and those are usually the most popular people on Instagram,
Right.
right?
The ones
Or-
that make a living off of Instagram.
Exactly. And you just have to be born a certain way and willing to act a certain way on camera, right?
Yeah.
And then for everyone else, it's like, oh, here's something I saw, but there's no context, right? I mean,
Right.
You know, there's a couple of hashtags or whatever,
Yeah.
but there's no, but on Twitter or like you get a better sense of someone's personality.
Right, exactly.
Based on what they wrote.
I would say so. I would say Twitter's probably where I'm most free.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but you said this is not like anything controversial, but you just said something about turning down a tour because it didn't fit with your brand.
Oh, right.
And so I'm just curious, like, about that. What's that process to decide how well something fits with your brand? I feel like my guess is that some things are obvious one way or the other, and then there's gray area in between. And so how do you think about that?
I would say just knowing the balance between wanting to do something for the clout or the popularity or maintaining your image.
Is that hard?
Or your rep. It is hard. It's a continuous compromise. Again, always compromise.
It's really hard for me to turn shit down. Because I feel
This was hard to turn down, I would say.
Yeah.
Mainly because of bread and travel, but like I couldn't. Like I feel like I would take like a few steps back with like certain parts of like my history that I've like earned respect out of.
Yeah.
I take a few steps back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even so, like you know, the whole like earning like a bunch of new followers from this and like popularity or fame. I was like, it's probably not even gonna be the kind of people that I want looking
Sure.
after my shit. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's not gonna be the same people I want listening to my stuff. They're not gonna want my stuff.
Right.
So it didn't even fit
Yeah.
everything I had going on. So I was just like,
Okay. I know you post a lot of mixes. How does that help you? Like, think kind of from a business perspective. How does that help you?
having content that people could look out for or anticipate or just have.
So do you see
Keeps
that
you-
like it helps you get gigs because someone?
Listen to my mixes. You know what?
Or is it like a certain number of plays and then they want to book you, or like is there?
Ironically, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say we're booking you because we heard your mix. But then again, I'm not in that era. Like I
Right.
don't like even like moving from SoundCloud to Mixcloud. I had like if I have like I don't know how many followers I have on Instagram, maybe close to 1,000, and I would get like a fair amount of listeners and listens.
Right.
But then I moved to SoundCloud. I couldn't even get more than 200 followers.
I mean, Mixcloud
Like-
that whole thing to me is really unfortunate.
It
because
is.
SoundCloud is such a great experience as a listener.
Yeah.
Right. And just the way it works and
Exactly.
everything about it is great except for when they pull shit down.
Yeah.
Right. And Mixcloud is not. It's okay, you know, but it doesn't have the same. I don't know. I haven't spent time really thinking about it, but it's
Yeah.
just not the same.
Right. Well,
As
the interface kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And especially because people will listen to mixes are always going to be on the go. It's always going to be like mobile.
Mobile, yeah.
And they don't have. I mean, they have an app, but it's not mobile
good.
friendly. It's
Yeah.
the interface just sucks. Period.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving my mixes from SoundCloud to Mixcloud just sucked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so hard to get traffic on Mixcloud. It's so hard to make people move from SoundCloud to Mixcloud. And I'm trying so hard. I'm like, I'm not gonna post anything on SoundCloud. You guys will have to listen to it on Mixcloud. But it's still, they'll email me and be like, can I have the MP3? Like, if there's no download link, like, can I just have it? Like, but yeah, the mixtape era is, I don't think I'm in that era. I still do it because it's a way for me to express my craft, I guess, and just to have content, and I love doing it. So, but I don't think I'm past the mixtape era. So, yeah.
Sure.
Which kind of sucks, but like I said, I still do it because I love doing it.
Like we were saying, I think the era is going to keep changing. Things will come back. And
maybe mixtapes are coming back, yeah.
SoundCloud, supposedly, I have a friend who's in the business of clearing all the songs and contained in a mix. It's Dub something. Dubset is the company. And so they're...
I thought you said dubstep.
No, Dubset. And so they're starting to work with DJs and to get all the songs cleared.
Yeah.
So that those
I don't know why they haven't done that sooner. It sucks. I have mixes that get taken down like 2 years later. I don't know how that works, but it'll get taken down 2 years later. Or it'll get taken down 20 hours later. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I always feel like a piece of my
YouTube?
heart breaks. I don't have any YouTube content. No. He's on my head about this.
You don't put like mixes up on YouTube?
No. I'm not very...
I don't know if that's even a good idea.
I'm not very video interactive. Like
I don't listen to music on YouTube, but a lot of people do.
Does anybody do that?
Yeah, it's the #1 place that people listen to music.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just no visual, right? It's just a record spinning or just nothing.
Are you
just
serious?
Just a picture. Yeah.
But you can't even listen to YouTube and exit out of the app and have the music still playing.
Yeah, again, like that's a weird thing. It's a terrible experience.
What?
Millions of people.
And so it must be people listening like on their desktop or something.
I think so.
Yeah, people who don't have phones.
Yeah,
people who live like in the anyways.
Yeah, work or I don't know how that works. What's the hardest part of this job?
Hardest part of this job? I'm gonna give you such an elementary answer. Staying awake.
Oh yeah?
I mean, we talked about me being really great at staying awake.
That's actually a good answer.
But if you're working, and especially in the summer when you're doing day clubs and night clubs back to back, and you're gonna do that like 5 nights, 5 days in a row.
Sure.
It's keeping your energy up.
Yeah.
Because there are gigs where I'm literally standing there and I don't even remember being there at all. I black out from just exhaustion.
Right.
Not from drinking. I like black out and I'm like, I'll go home, take a nap, and wake up and be like, I played today? Mm-hmm. There's moments where I'm that tired. Like I feel like I literally just show up and I play, but like I don't remember anything, just like black out from exhaustion. Yeah. And that's what I'm like trying to work on now. And this is not even I don't even think this is like DJ anything related. It's just working on rest.
Well, I mean, there's a certain like schedule for DJs it's hard.
Yeah.
Right, and I think in some ways it only gets harder when there's more travel involved.
Exactly. When you're traveling,
I've talked to some people on the show that have said the hardest part is flying, is traveling, right, and not knowing what city you're in, or not. You go to all these exotic places, but all you see is the airport, the DJ booth. You don't see the city and any of that.
Yeah, totally.
So you understand why people start to pre-program their sets.
Right. But I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I got DJs behind me in the DJ booth.
Exactly.
Watching me.
Exactly. Okay, I have a lightning round. So tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
Dropping out of school and becoming a full-time DJ.
Okay, complete this sentence. I don't have talent, I have blank.
drive.
If I worked for you, like this guy, what's something I would hear you say over and over?
Don't drink tonight.
Okay, that might tell us more about Josh than we wanted to know. Who would you be most excited to learn as a fan of your work?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Who would you be most excited to learn as a fan of your work?
Is a fan of my work? All the guys that I work with, and especially the Beat Junkies. I still get like a piece of like an exhilarating feeling whenever I get one of them, praise my work.
Yeah, nice.
It's like my dad. Like I feel like I always have to like impress them, and it's always a work in progress,
Yeah. That's funny. I'm listening to Jimmy O Yang's book. He has very different. The chapter is about like growing up with Asian parents. He has a very different experience than yours.
In what way?
Oh, he did some big comedy show, like stand up. It was like, and his parents came and they were like, "Yeah, that sucked. You should."
You're
go
not
back to
funny.
school." Yeah.
That was like when Joe Coy,
Right.
his mom told him, "Oh, you want to be a clown?"
Right.
That's
Yeah,
what they think being
exactly.
funny is.
Yeah, he's kind of said the same thing. So I'm glad you're not having that experience.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think I'm lucky.
What's your favorite city to travel to?
I love San Francisco.
Yeah.
I love the Bay Area culture.
You ever
I think
play
it's
there?
sort of, I play there a lot.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like home away from home.
Yeah.
The culture is very similar to Long Beach, I would say. The
Interesting.
party scene.
Yeah.
Just like it's like they get wild.
Yeah.
Like Long Beach gets wild. Like if you play in LA, you'll notice that most clubs don't have people on the dance floor going crazy.
Right.
A lot of them just stand
Yeah,
around, stare at each other,
For sure.
especially like the premier nightclubs in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
it's a
nobody's
standing
dancing.
room.
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing.
Right.
Or to them, it's like
Cool
if
thing
you
to do.
dance like you're crazy. What are you doing here? Go to another club.
Right.
Because you're supposed to just be here, pop bottles, and look at each other.
Yeah.
But I love playing in the Bay. It's always like mad energy when I play in the Bay.
Nice. Do you read books?
I don't, unfortunately. I write in journals, but I don't read
Oh,
books.
you do?
Yes. I
Nice.
just got into the habit of doing that.
Every day?
Yes, I do actually.
Nice.
In the morning and right before I go to bed.
Yeah. That's a good habit. I've tried that
It is.
many times, and I usually.
I don't think you're really
Hard to
gonna
keep it up.
it's gonna stick until you're like ready to do that, because I did too. I would go back and forth with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, so now I can't like start my day if I don't do that,
Yeah.
because it's made a huge difference just
Yeah.
with like the things that I do every day. I used to write in my diary, but
Sure.
but then my mom started reading it.
Oh yeah.
I was like, no, it's not gonna happen
It's
again.
not gonna work. What's the movie that you've seen the most in your life?
Movie that I've seen the most. That Thing You Do.
I don't know that movie.
Are you guys familiar with That Thing You Do?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What is that?
I'm not gonna call it highbrow, but yeah.
Is it? Okay. No. I mean,
Wait, are we talking about the same thing?
Who's the black and white one?
That Thing You Do.
it's like a teen movie.
No, it's.
It's a movie that reminds me of Mayor Hawthorne.
Oh yeah, there's no service. Oh, I have service.
It's like Mayor Hawthorne thing.
What?
It reminds me of Mayor Hawthorne.
The movie does?
Sort of. It's like a comedy, sort of musical, sort of like. Yeah, it is That Thing You Do with an exclamation.
Yeah.
Doo-wop barbershop.
Tom Hanks.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard of this.
Because my mom and I would watch that over and over again.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite movie soundtracks
Rock and roll
too.
movie.
It's like a Beatles.
Yeah, I love that
Got
soundtrack.
it.
I still have that CD.
I've never even heard of that.
That movie just
taught me
makes me
something.
happy. You gotta go see it.
Apparently.
It'll make you happy.
All right.
It sets a mood. I feel like it's a movie to watch during the day before you get anything else started.
Okay.
Not that you should watch a movie
I
first
usually
thing in
don't
the
do
morning.
that. I don't do that very
Right?
often, but once
On
in
a
while,
Sunday or something when you're off or something.
Once in a while, my son and I watch a Sunday morning movie. Sometimes.
Monsters Inc. 2. I know that movie word for word.
You do?
Yes, because of my little sister. She
Okay.
wouldn't go to sleep until I put that on.
The second one, not the first one.
First one.
All right. Who's your favorite DJ?
That's tough. Can we not favorite DJs? Favorite DJ?
You can pick more than one.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of A-Track, just how he's able to bridge the gap between, like I said, open format, dance, and being able to play festivals as an open format DJ. So, he's the muse, like, and ultimately, I feel like that's who I want to mold myself into, that kind of DJ, like his
He
brand
played a
and his
festival
work.
once that I was involved in, and so I stood on stage and watched him DJ,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a beat live on stage.
Right.
You've seen him do that?
Yes.
It's amazing.
And if you see him, like, if you see him DJ,
Yeah.
there's no down
no.
moment. He's actually like working.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna tap him on the shoulder and say hi, because he's just constantly like working.
Yeah. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. Other than that, all the guys from the Beat Junkies, those are really like my idols.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're familiar with Nasty Nez.
Yeah, of course.
That's my uncle.
Oh, really?
It's actually my grandpa.
Oh, no way.
But technically my uncle, but I call him my grandpa. But starting out as a DJ, he was pretty much the one that told me there's a right way to learn.
Yeah.
These are the first steps that you have to take before you can call yourself a DJ.
So what are the first steps?
And it was learning how to play on vinyl.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
And like I said, like learning how to DJ, I had to teach myself everything. Like but I at least had the idea of knowing that I needed to learn the history before I get into the culture.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that I had him doing that for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there were instances where I, like show up to a workshop or whatever, like an open table session, I would show up and they'd be like, but can you play on vinyl? And it's intimidating.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I was like 22 and I'm like, I just learned like a year ago, but okay.
Yeah.
So it was good to have someone tell me that these are the first few steps.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
That's cool. I've known Ness for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
What a small world.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. It's a small community.
Yeah. Even, believe it or not, even with him, it took a while to get his recognition.
I'm sure.
Very OG, just, and even when Serato came out, like he would ask me for help too, and we would do little trade-offs, like I'll teach you Serato, give me some vinyls, teach me some stuff. So, but it took a while for him to like give me some personal recognition too.
Nice.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I always felt like I had to impress my uncle, so.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
You need that.
Right.
Well, thanks for doing this. How's
was
everybody
fun.
find you online?
Online at DJ Bella Fiasco on everything. Twitter,
Okay.
Instagram, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, at DJ Bella Fiasco.
Check the Mixcloud. Lots of
Check
good
the
mixes there.
Mixcloud. Give me some traffic on Mixcloud.
That's right.
Shit.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, that was Bella Fiasco on Rebel Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave us a comment, a review. Hit us on Twitter at Rebel Radio Net, on Facebook at Rebel Radio Net. Hit our iTunes page, our YouTube, everywhere you like, you can find us. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio.